Okay, so hello on this rainy Sunday afternoon here in Penzance in England. I'm really excited about this. I've been writing poetry for years and years. Like I write at least one poem a week, and it was part of my degree at university, and it's just something I've developed over the years, and I actually really love sharing some of how I write poetry because I think people think, oh, it's really hard to write poetry if they've never done it before. Um, and which you guys probably will be dive straight in, but I think the process I'm going to go through also makes like gives it some tangibility as well, and hopefully things you hadn't thought of before. Some of which I've picked up from one of my favorite poets called Mary Oliver, who's a she like writes a lot about nature. Um, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look today at three creatures of the 55th gene key. So this gene key is really important because we're moving into a new background energy according to human design gene keys transmission. So at the moment, we're in what's called the 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 cross of planning, and this has been a whole kind of 500 years of industrialization and all that kind of stuff. And this cross is switching over in 2027. Although I feel like it's already switching over. It's not like a boom switch, it's more like a switch into this cross of the sleeping phoenix, which happen to know someone here has this cross in their human design. um, and so this 55th gene key, which moves from victimization to freedom in its gift, but also freedom in its civic frequency, is incredibly important for all of us, whether we have it in our gene keys or not. So my experience of working with freedom, like I grew up in South Africa under apartheid, so freedom was a big word, and I actually left a couple of years before Mandela was released. So a lot of my younger years was about political freedom. And then also like thinking about freedom as not having to be responsible for anything. So freedom in some ways to me is like long journeys or going to the mountains, but kind of not pinning myself down as well. But in the last sort of 5 years, my journey with freedom has been much more about freedom from emotional states, like anger or that state of victimization, actually, like someone has done something to me, like I am oppressed by other people or situations, and really coming into like more and more of a state of self-empowerment through realizing like I have complete responsibility for whether I'm free or not. And that complete responsibility is quite profound the closer I get to it. And then I fall into these states where I feel like a victim and I feel really bad, and then I kind of pull myself out again. So what we're going to do today is look at these three creatures in the dream arc. So the dream arc is an oracle that is the latest transmission, if you like, of the gene keys, is that this dream arc of animals can be like a place to nurture and guide our journey through this big transitional stage. Um, so each of the gene keys has 3 animals connected with it. So the first level is called the fear key. And this is an insect or a fish normally. And so for this gene key, it's the dragonfly, which is the most incredible creature. I will say a bit more later when we get to dragonfly. The next levels of the dream arc creatures, so that's the underworld, okay, and then we have the middle world, which are the mammals, and this is the world that we live in. But we meet the mammals in this very important kind of, like we're vertical and they're horizontal. So when we create this kind of vertical horizontal conjunction of consciousness with animals, it's like we can access these deeper dreaming, transitional healing states. So that's what the mammals do. And the mammal is the seal for the 55. And then finally, we have the birds, who are the upper world, and they're the vision of the future of what is coming. And probably it was this bird actually that was really calling, and the bird is the albatross. And when I was a kid, my dad used to call me Trossie after the albatross. And I do, like in my deepest nature, I feel I have this albatross kind of nature to go out and explore and have adventures. But then there's another side of me that is more scared and wants to kind of stay with what's safe and kind of cling on to people or things around me that I'm kind of used to. Like I'm quite resistant to my inner albatross, put it that way. And yeah, someone here I'm going walking with in the mountains later in the year, and that to me is like, I know I have to experience this inner albatross, and so journeys like that really help me access that part of myself. But it's going to be different for different people, and it depends like where your safety zone is. Like if your safety zone is always walking in mountains, you might have to go and drop out of a plane or something to go beyond your boundaries. Um, and and then an interesting thing happened. You can sign up to, it's called the Gazelle newsletter. It's a new Gene Keys newsletter for the Dream Arc. And one of the articles this month is all about the trio of animals that you have with each gene key. And Richard Rudd is talking about finding like a thread through the animals. They're in these trios for a reason. They're not randomly there. They have like a theme. And so through our poetry, I really want to invite that in, that we find what those threads are. And I think this creative process is going to be really good for that. Okay, so that's all my sort of jumping in why I'd like to do this with you and stuff. So let's begin with the Dream Arc animals. So this is being recorded, and I'm going to invite you to read. But if you read, it is going to be recorded, so just be aware of that. And if no one wants to read, I can read them as well. So we're going to begin with the dragonfly. So this is the Dream Arc, the Gene Keys Dream Arc, which is like an online, there's all kinds of talks and an oracle and all sorts of different things. So the dragonfly is the key symbol for the Gene Keys. And it's in the category of changes. So all the animals connected with changes, which seal and dragonfly are connected to this huge mutation of energy that I've been talking about at the beginning. And that's why I wanted to kind of share this thing about the big change over to 2027, because these are specific animals that help us in that transition. I find the dragonfly really inspiring because I have so many powerful emotional states and they exhaust me. But one of the teachings of dragonfly is that this change in it's almost like a complete transformation comes through the water element and the emotions. So actually this intensity of emotional experience is something that is fueling our inner transition to this new way of being. And I always try to remember that when I'm in one of these states, like, this is good, Alison. You know, you are transitioning here. And it's all about how I actually deal with that in my mind and not resist it. So here we can see, like for dragonfly, the fear key is the fear of freedom. So if we say to people, if we say to ourselves, of course we want freedom, but when freedom actually means having a lot of responsibility, and it isn't always what we think it is, like a lot of these things. So does anyone want to read this dragonfly? And open your mic if you want to read.
Sorry, Ali, I can't see it enough to read. I'm just on a mobile phone, so it's a tiny screen.
Yeah, I would love to read as well. I might be able to read it on my phone, but I can't read it on the computer.
Okay.
Oh, magic!
I'm making it bigger here. But...
All right. Okay, I'll read.
Okay, can you read that? Yeah.
I can. If you don't mind me going like this. You are in the midst of a radical transformation. Why else would you have drawn me, the wildest of changers, into your orbit? Sometimes change takes place deep beneath the surface of life in our very DNA across multiple dimensions. This kind of change is often hard to see or understand. Such times in life are rare, but crucial. In the life cycle of my people, we undergo many molts, mutations. All these smaller changing periods then build within us towards a supermolt, a transmutation in which all the elements of the previous changes or breakthroughs are synthesized at a whole new level of consciousness. Thus, we are propelled far beyond all notions of our ordinary comfort zones into a vast new world.
Hang on 1 minute, because before we go any further, there's an instruction I forgot.
Okay.
So while we're doing this, what I want you to do is write down any words or phrases that jump out at you. Write them in like a list kind of way. Okay, that's it. So yeah, carry on now.
How you deal with such periods in life dictates how swiftly and easily the old is integrated into the new. We do not throw away the old paradigm, it is the fuel of the new. Everything that came before is shown to have created the perfect ingredients for this change. Therefore, do not be tempted to break your ties with the old you. The old you is coming with you into the new version. For spiritual awareness to attain its zenith, it cannot discard, but it must integrate. You must integrate the new awareness into your life as it is. This is where the magic lies. You need not even change a single thing on the outer plane, but everything will change on the inner plane. Thus, all your relationships will be new. All aspects of your life will be as though reborn in another dimension. But it is not necessary for anyone else to change but you. Do you see the magic of what I am teaching you? Nothing need change but you. And nothing of your outer life need change. It may change, it may not. All is change anyway. But your life as it is right now, with all its challenges, it can be integrated into a new spiritual, down-to-earth reality. It is more than your attitude. Your attitude will change, yes, but this change is deeper than psychology. It cannot be learned. It is taking place in your cells. So give yourself to the cycle of change 100%. Trust in it. Learn from it. Relax and soften. You need not do anything but listen and wait. Let the transformation colonize your cells. It may take months and months for this process to become clear. In a year from today, I promise you, you will see more clearly what I am saying. You will understand. Today, you may not understand. So dig in for a long-term process that is underway. In spite of anything you do or attempt, it is happening anyway. So allow, accept, and embrace it. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming on levels you cannot possibly comprehend from your current worldview. Celebrate this fact.
Okay, so I'll just give you a few moments just to write down. I'll leave that on the screen. It might not be very, I know it's not visible to everyone. But just to write down, you don't need all your 16 words because we're going to go through 3 animals. So just write down. It's quite an interesting process beginning to really listen to words and feel their resonance or not with you. And sometimes the resonance might not be positive as well, but if you have a strong reaction to something, it's good to include it too, because what we're doing here is we're really tapping into the subconscious. And what we're going to be drawing out of all of this is we're going to get these 16 words down to 1 word, which will be the essence of our relationship to this whole topic that we're doing today. What was lovely actually is freedom is coming. Freedom is coming, freedom is coming. And one of the things I remember from South Africa is the Mandela song, and people would sing, freedom is coming. And it's just a really powerful song. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that wonderful reading. It's so expressive. Okay, so let's go on to seal now. So seal is an animal that there's one lives on my walk that I go on by the sea here. But actually in the last few weeks, there's been a mating pair. And they're really lovely because they kind of put their faces up together, and then they're showing their flippers as well, which they don't often do. Normally you sort of see their head bobbing up out of the water, but they're behaving a bit differently right now. Yes, open it a bit for you. So the life key here is feminine freedom. Interestingly, because the seals in the UK are very much connected with these stories of the Selkies, and the Selkies are seal women. They're often involved in very intense romantic interludes with mortal males or possibly females. So they they indicate, like, for me, they're about this intense romantic kind of energy is embodied by the seals, and almost like the transformation or the meeting place of the mortal with the immortal. That's kind of how I see the seal. But let us have a read of what the seal is in the oracle. So I know, Paul, you can't read, but do you want to read, Cheryl?
Sure, I can read. Let me see. I am Seal. I stand in the middle between earth and sea, between this world and the next, between you and your future. My people contain a prophecy that only when the past is fully transformed can the golden future dawn. I am a changer, and you must embrace my transformation. You must turn backwards now and face where you have come from. You must face the deep grief of your people. You carry this grief in yourselves, and behind it lies the deep-seated human fear of death. Death you must face alone, in the silence of your being. It is the greatest of universal secrets held by our mother. Dive with me into these vast waters. Be not afraid of your fear. It must be felt and embraced before you can take the next stage of your journey. Know that there is also great beauty in the aloneness of the ocean. Like death, it fills us with awe. Awe and fear are in fact related. Can you transform your fear into awe? Can you let go of what was and celebrate the mystery that has not yet come? Can you rest in the gap with perfect equanimity? This is what life is now asking of you. You are in between two lives, two paths. Rest here and bring in the harvest of what has been. Let the future come in its own timing. Be with me in the waves of deep time. In deep time, all is seen. The concerns of one life dwindle into the background. Let a grander vista emerge inside. You are a divine traveler moving along a line of eternity. Those you love, you will have to let go of, one by one. Your dreams, too. You will have to one day surrender, but you will get it all back again. Those you love will return to your side, and your dreams will reform again around another version of you. Ours is the journey of the soul, the journey into the deep feminine wisdom. You are being asked to let go now, so let go of everything. And then let Mother cradle you in her, and I'm sorry, I can't see the rest. And then let Mother cradle you in her gentle arms and rest in the knowledge that all you love and long for will one day be delivered. Now is a time of pause.
Wonderful, thank you. I love that deep time. In deep time, all is seen. Okay, so let us do our bird now, the upper world, the vision of the future, which is the albatross. So yeah, just keep writing your list there. We'll have some time to kind of fine tune your list when we're complete with the animals. So here's albatross. So albatross, remember, seal and dragonfly are both in the changes category. There's 12 categories of animals in the dream arc, and the albatross is in the healers category. And this is the vision of expansive freedom. I am the albatross, long lived am I. Of all the bird people, mine is a unique destiny to shepherd humanity out of its current delusionary epoch and bring you to a new dawn. There's much you have to surrender in this journey. Many thousands of years you have waited for this moment. Now is not the time to lose hope. Now is the time not to contract, but to expand. In my lifetime, I will wander millions of miles across the boundless ocean. I am the living spirit of your freedom. Deep down within your soul, I am buried. Release me and let me live in your life. You are not your body. In this truth lives your truest freedom. Millions of lives you have lived, and your consciousness has dived and soared and swung with me in 1,000 dawns and dusks out on the silent ocean. You only have to remember that which you are, the living spirit of eternal freedom. This freedom need not be won. It only needs to be claimed and recognized. I am more than a hope. I am the certainty of your freedom. Allow me as a living symbol to enter into the ocean of your heart, and you will find all within that you long for. I am also called towards healing, towards human love. Human love is filled with kindness, with selfless generosity. One day you will bring human love to its perfect zenith, where it will blossom as a spirit of undying, eternal gratitude. You can never be alone. Your brothers and sisters do not pass away into nothingness, but sing within your heart. Pack away your sadness, therefore, and step into the next great adventure of your life. The very air around you is now humming with change. What you may perceive as danger is the dawning of the new. Everywhere in your world now, the new is coming in. At every level within your lives, in your civilizations as they fall away, the new is coming in. As they fall away, in your reliance on all external forms, in the changes moving through Gaia herself, all is the new pouring into the world. Let this truth be a healing breeze to lift up your wings, lift up your hearts, open your eyes to the truth that is dawning in your world. Capture the spirit of freedom that is coming and share it with your brothers and sisters. For I alone, hanging in the firmament above the waves of your sorrow, I stand testament to the glory of the time that is upon us. Okay, so keep sort of working on your 16 words there. What strikes me is that all of these things are connected by the element of water, which is our emotional states. So everything I feel is about like how our freedom actually from our negative emotional states. That feels like a really important thing.
Ali, can I ask you about the 16 words? I think I've maybe missed that bit.
Okay. Okay, so have you been writing down any words that you liked as we've been going along? Okay, so let me show you my 16 words and then it's going to be clearer what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, so let me open this. Okay, so first of all, what you need to do is get your words down to 16. And I'm going to show you, normally I would just do this on a piece of paper, but today, so I can be clear with you guys, I've put it in a document. So hopefully you can see a bit of this, Paul, but what I want you to do is put, so these are my words, and I want you to put a number next to them so you can see which number word they are clearly. So my first word is changer. My second word is iridescent wings. My third is water. My fourth air. My fifth integrate. And my sixth magic, so on. until I've got 16 words. Does that make sense, Paul?
So 16 words all about dragonflies.
About dragonfly, seal, and albatross. All three of them. So I'll give you a couple of minutes just to get your list down to 16 words, or I've got a phrase there, iridescent wings. They may be things I said, or they may be things that are just there in your imagination. The list is yours. Yeah, it's coming from your being. So put whatever pops into your head is what should be on the list. And then I'll share again in a minute. If you can give me some indication when you've got your 16 words, that would be great. Then I know when to move on. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so I'm going to share that again. So this is a process. This is one of my processes that I learned from the Mary Oliver handbook of writing poetry. So sometimes, like, I find this really helpful because say I'll go on a day out, or I'll have an experience, I'm by the sea, or I have something happen and I know I want to write a poem about it. And it kind of helps me, rather than writing the poem immediately, to write down words. So sometimes I'll kind of do it more in a brainstorming kind of way. And sometimes I'll do the 16 list. And this exercise is really about finding the essence of what this is about for you, because these words have come from your subconscious mind, and we're listening to our subconscious mind about what is the deeper meaning of this. Okay, so in the next phase, we're going to reduce these 16 words to 8 words or phrases. So we're going to take the first and the second word. So my first word was changer. My second word was iridescent wings. And you're not going to think too much about this. You're just going to go for the first word or phrase that pops into your mind. For me, that was were. Okay. Then my third word was water. My fourth, air. And from those, I get mist. My fifth word was integrate, my sixth word magic, and the word I get is spell. So it's like an association. You're asking your imagination to make an association between these words. Then my next word is earth and sea, and I got rock pools. My 9th word was grief. My 10th word, aloneness. And my word from that is hermit. My 11th word was selkie. My 12th word was threshold. So I've got romance. My 13th word was deep time. My 14th, expansive freedom. And from that, I've got spiral of time. And finally, my 15th word was shepherd. My 16th, human love, and I've got Christ consciousness. So this is what I want you to do, is get your 16 words down to 8 words in this way I've shown you, by making them into pairs and finding, just let your imagination, what pops into your mind, and let that be your word. Don't make it too complicated, because we really want to tune into your immediate response here. So I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. So I know you're not thinking too hard. Okay. So let's do the next bit then. So from our 8 words, we're now going to come down to 4. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. So from were and mist, the associated word I got was whirlwind. From spell and rock pools, I got selkie prayer. From hermit and romance, I got beloved. And from spiral of time and Christ consciousness, I got rebirth. So get it down to 4, then to 2, then to 1. Let's give you a couple of minutes to do that. When you've got your 1, actually, what would be great is if you can put it in the chat. So my 1 got down to supernova. So we'll put those, write those in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing now, that bit. And I can put my essence is supernova. It's quite big. So Cheryl's essence is patience. Wonderful. I sometimes feel patience is the key to everything. Definitely the key to emotional calmness, anyway. Okay, my essence is pain, and my essence is immortality. Brilliant. Okay, so what we're going to do now is write a poem. There's so many, what I want you to do actually, there's so many kinds of structured poems, but what we're going to have a go at today is what's called free form poetry. And there's a great freedom in that, because what I want to invite us to do is really just allow our right brain to write this poem. So that gives us freedom from punctuation. I don't even want you to think about words that rhyme. I don't want you to think about how many sentences there are. I just want you to look at your words, begin with that essence. Yeah, trust that this is the essence you need to begin with, and just start writing from that. I want us to have time to do some different processes then with our poems. So I'm just going to pause for 10 minutes to give us time to write this. And then we're going to be doing some work on the poem, like structuring it and thinking more in a left brain kind of way about it. But for now, I just want you to just allow the words to just tumble out of you. You know, it doesn't matter if it's good, bad, indifferent, just let whatever's in you land on the paper, without your brain getting too involved in it. Really, that's the key here. Try not to think too much. Just let it out. Okay, so I'm going to pause the recording. If you have any questions as well. Okay, so time for the next part. So having gone into this completely free form flowing poetry, now often in real life I would take a break now and I'd go away from my poem and then I'd come back to it in this more kind of structured way, and sometimes even leave it overnight. So you might want to come back to this tomorrow as well, or if it calls you later in the week, just to kind of go back over it, because the subconscious will kind of bring things while you're sleeping as well. And that's a really important part of writing, I've discovered, is to trust that this process of tapping into the subconscious is what's going to give you something interesting. Yes, I like that word, incubation. Wonderful. Okay, so let me share what I did earlier with this poem. Okay, so I'm just going to read these first three stanzas to you and then talk about what I see here. Now, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to perceive the rhythm that's already in the poem. Okay, we're not trying to impose a rhythm on it. We're trying to find the rhythm that our being naturally put into it. And I think that's another important shift for me as a writer that has improved my writing a lot. And you have this idea of like Michelangelo, the sculptor, and he's got his piece of rock and the sculpture's already in there. And this is a similar idea with writing, that it's kind of there, and now you're crafting. I like that word, crafting. You're a wordsmith. You're twisting and turning the words to get the feeling and the emotion maybe that you want to bring out in this poem. So these are this is how I just wrote it. A dragonfly I arise, my iridescent wings whirring from a fertile pond. A selkie I have emerged from the sea, living in luscious violet rock pools, with snails with spiraling shells, and mollusks clinging to old rocks. The vision I have now is almost beyond belief, and I am forgetting the old me's who exploded in a supernova, these old timelines vanishing before my eyes. Okay, so it's always good to read your poetry out, because you're going to stumble over naturally any mistakes and start to see them. And it's the quickest way actually to edit is to read it out loud to yourself, or even record it and then listen to it back, because where it doesn't quite work, it will be really obvious. But what I want us to do is focus on the structure in this next little piece that we're going to do. So what you can see in my poem here is that this first stanza has 3 lines. The next 2 have 4 lines each. And then I often do this. I put one in the middle of nowhere. And it's almost like what I've said there, I wanted to have more space around it. And when I first started writing poetry, I would be much more conscious about making space. But like sometimes it just happens now that I'm like, oh my God, I've put that without, in the middle of nowhere. So this is freedom from rules poetry. So you'll be glad to know I'm not going to force you into any kind of poetic rhythm that already exists. I think this is much more fun. So for me, it feels like the 4 line is the natural rhythm of this poem. But the first line has only got 3 lines. And so what I've got to do, what I am going to do, I don't have to do anything actually, but what I'm feeling to do is to, hang on, I'm trying to open this a bit so it's bigger. So this one here, a dragonfly, I arise, my iridescent wings whirring from a fertile pond. And it's quite a similar line, actually. So what we have is a dragonfly arising from a pond, and then we've got a selkie emerging from the sea. So I'm already seeing there's a theme here of coming out of water into these creatures, and I'm noticing that. So what I can do is make this into a 4-line stanza. So as a dragonfly, powered by emotion, I'm just going to put that first thing is fine. I arise, my iridescent wings whirring from a fertile pond. A selkie, I have emerged from the sea, living in luscious violet rock pools. Now, you might perceive that I could do with making this sentence here, I arise, a little bit longer, or I could do with making that shorter so that they're kind of a bit more in resonance with each other. And my feeling is, because I like this, living in luscious violet rock pools, that I'm going to make that sentence there longer. I arise. You know, they're very ancient, aren't they? That's what's popping into my mind. The dragonfly is very ancient. So that's what I'm going to work on. So this is what I want you to do for the next, let's see, we've only got 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure we've got time to share. And also there's one more process I want you to do. So I'm just going to give us 5 minutes to create some structure here, but begin by reading it out loud to yourself and work from there. Okay? And yeah, we'll come back in 5 minutes to that.
Alison, I think you're muted.
Thank you, darling. So yeah, just want to add another layer to this. I know we don't have a huge amount of time, but this is one of my favorite Mary Oliver things that I love with poetry, is to think about sounds. So there's hard sounds like, let me think of a hard sound, is r or p. You know, they've got a kind of quite punchy sound, and then there's sounds like sh or whoosh. So whir, yeah. So the sound of words, I think, really can give your poetry like a whole new dimension. So I'll just go back to mine and share like one little bit where it came out quite naturally. So I think I've done it quite naturally here. And again, this comes with experience of writing, that I start to do it more and more unconsciously. So a selkie I have emerged from the sea, living in luscious violet rock pools, with snails with spiraling shells and mollusks clinging to old rocks. So those words feel like they contain an energy of the sound. Yes, so I just want you to have a little read through your poem again and just think about if there's any kind of sounds you've already done, or there might be something you think, oh, I'll change a word because it's got a better sound than this one I've got right now. Okay, so I'm sorry we haven't got more time. It's wonderful here. I'm looking out at the sea, and the seagulls are going absolutely mental out there. I think there's pilchards because they're like dive bombing in the sea. So it feels like a perfect kind of end to this watery experience. So I'm going to pause the recording so that we can share without worrying about anyone else listening. It's only us here. And